Hey, what's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Retail Shenanigans. This is episode 14. Fantastic. I just got done recording a previous episode with a friend of mine, which will be up soon. And this one is actually one I'm really excited about. This is the first time I've had somebody reach out to me to be on the show who I actually don't know one bit. The person I'm about to interview today, his name is Corey. He is a friend of Mark's, who I interviewed about, I guess, 6 episodes now. And once he saw it and he seemed like he was very interested, and as I tell everybody, if you hear it and you want to come on the show, please just find a way to reach out to me. And Corey has seemed to done that. Sorry. So Corey, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm good. We're had the weekend off here, so I figured I'd get as many of them done as I can. I'm trying to release one every day to keep it kind of, you know, keep the flow going and try to just get as much content out there as I can to just get it, going to where I want it to be. And it's good that I have a weekend where I'm off, and not only off, but I have several planned out where things just aren't, cancellations or last minute things come up. Because last weekend, I had a couple scheduled, and one of them, it was on the interviewee side. They had to cancel just because some things came up, and then on me, I went to do one, and right before we went to start recording to call and get everything set up, my mouse took a shit on me, so I couldn't even do it.
Of course.
Mm.
But well, congratulations on the show, by the way. I just saw, yeah, you just did get this started, which is always awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've worked retail my whole life since I was about 16, and working convenience store retail is really what gave me this idea, because no matter who I ended up working with, there were people that always had stories that they wanted to tell, or a story that either made you
Absolutely.
angry or that made you laugh, or that just it was something you could relate to because you've dealt with something like that. Maybe not something as crazy, but you've definitely dealt with something. And I
Oh
just
yeah.
feel that reaches out to every branch of, not even just call it retail, but sales, food
Hmm.
sales, grocery. Hell, a couple of days ago, I had some tattoo artists that they're salesmen. Why aren't they? Because they're selling
Yeah.
their art, and they've got to sell their shop and sell the, advertise. So it was awesome having them on, getting their perspective. And with you being a friend of Mark, like I said right away, I was like, yeah, let's get you on the show. And as soon as we could, here we are.
Yeah, we I've known him for a long time. Mark Laflemme, I believe you said his last name was. Yeah, his my son and his son are cousins.
Okay.
That's how we met through because his estranged wife, I guess you'd say now, unfortunately,
Okay.
and my ex-wife are sisters,
Okay.
and that's how we met.
I gotcha. So, was there any extracurricular going on between you and Mark, or is that just not something that we're going to talk about?
Oh no, we hang out and stuff. We actually have as soon as this whole COVID thing's over, we're actually planning on a road trip. I told him that I've never been to White Castle,
Oh my God.
so yeah, I've never been there because it's the closest one's 2 hours from me, and I asked him and his son and me and my son we're gonna do a road trip.
Hell yeah, the first time I ever had White Castle. So when I did live up in Pennsylvania, at the time I didn't know about the one that was 2 hours away, and the only time I
Mhm.
ever had White Castle is when I went up with my uncle to New York to visit my
Yeah.
cousin while he was in college. And it's funny because I had it the first time up there, and it was so fucking good.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping, just make it a trip. No, we're not just going to go straight there and straight back.
Right.
Hopefully, we'll see something to stop or have our own little Harold and Kumar adventure. Hopefully,
Which,
not that bad.
I guess speaking of that, there was a thing I saw the other day, and of course, I kind of don't put a lot of stock in anything I see on Facebook,
Mhm.
but sometimes things turn out to be true if you do a little investigative research on it. But apparently there's rumors of a fourth Harold and Kumar, which even though the third one people say aren't as good as the rest of them, I still enjoyed all three. I've been told
Yeah.
before I like terrible movies, and that's fine. That I'm a person. I'm a cinephile. I love movies in general, and just the Harold and Kumar movies are just fucking hilarious to me.
Yeah, I didn't. I agree. The third one wasn't as great, but yeah, I still enjoy them. And yeah, I'm like you. I like bad movies too, just to sit and laugh at them. My son and I love watching horror movies and just sitting here laughing how ridiculous some of these movies were. And we weren't scared at them.
Right. Well, see, and I'm on the opposite end of that. I've only recently started getting into horror movies.
Okay.
Growing up, like my brothers. So I have five older brothers. So they and my dad were all into like Freddy Krueger and Jason and Chucky and all that shit. Like they
Hmm.
liked it. Growing up, I was the youngest, so of course, when they were sitting down trying to watch this stuff, as cheesy as it is now that I see it and I understand
Yeah.
it, me being, 6, 7, 8 years old, I was scared out of my fucking mind. So of
Hmm.
course, I didn't like horror movies.
Right,
But
right.
now as I'm an adult and and I love movies and try to give everything a shot. There are movies that I'm just, oh, I really love it. Like actually the very first the movie that I would consider horror movie that I went and saw in theaters was the remake slash sequel Halloween they did. Fucking
Okay.
phenomenal. It was
I loved it.
amazing. I fucking loved it. Jamie Lee Curtis was on point
Hmm.
in that fucking movie,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And it's just like I'm getting to a point in my life where I'm being able to have an appreciation where, as opposed to when I was a little kid and I was fucking scared out of my pants about these movies that are absolutely now terrible. But at the
Yeah.
time, again, I was fucking, yeah, like I said, I was 6, so I was terrified.
Right, right. Yeah. If you're into bad movies and you're getting to horror, you should watch Critters.
Oh,
That is
okay.
lame. It's so bad it'll make you laugh.
Is it anything along the lines of like how like Leprechaun was, or is it worse?
I think it's almost more funny that it's supposed to be. I don't know if they even say they take themselves seriously.
Okay.
Like I think Leprechaun took themselves seriously.
Well, I mean, until they
I,
did Leprechaun in the Hood.
oh yeah, 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 absolutely, yeah. Just like Jason and Freddy, and then once they did like Jason X in space, it's like, come
Yeah.
on now, oh my god. But no, it's just like there's one point where this I think it took place. I think it might have been like the third Critters movie. There was actually a couple of them.
Okay.
The guy was dressed in an Easter bunny costume, and one of the critters got in the costume, and I guess he was eating him inside the costume, and
Oh,
it was just
jeez.
really bad. Yeah, you have to see it. It's so bad.
Well, I will definitely put that on the list because that's something I
Yeah.
was talking to my wife about, and I'm a huge fan of the original Evil Dead series, and
Okay.
she like anytime I want to watch it, she's like, "But they're so bad." I'm like, "I understand that, but they're still so good." Like
Hmm.
Bruce Campbell, like hammed it up so much, it was perfect. Like, and then of course, the running joke is anytime I put one of those on, we just recently sat down a couple weeks ago. When the pandemic started, we were watching like just putting movies on that acquiring movies and as best we could and just sitting and watching and so I made her sit down and finally watch Army of Darkness with me and inside joke between us because it's always from the first one where it's always swallow your soul like how bad that is but it's like a running joke between us now anytime we put on a movie that we know is going to be bad it's just oh well whatever.
You know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah, like a lot of those teen horror movies,
Yeah.
like Truth or Dare, or what
Yeah.
you should expect it going in that this is not going to probably be that great. But some of them surprised me though. That Happy Death Day was actually really good. I was shocked. I enjoyed that.
I have to give it a watch because I heard that it was like apparently it did it well enough that it's got a sequel.
Yes,
So
it does. It already did. Yeah, that already came out a while ago. I
okay,
didn't
cool,
see that one yet, but the first one, I don't know about the second one, but the first one, I was surprisingly happy how it actually came out pretty good.
awesome. Well, I think that was we've gotten a little off topic here, but that's okay because like I'm
Yeah,
explaining, like everybody on this podcast knows, this is my first time having a
yeah,
conversation with you, and hey, I really much appreciate it. So
yeah, not a
again,
problem.
welcome to the show, and thanks for letting me have a little rant about how much I like bad movies. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. So, my first question for you is going to be how long have you worked in retail? Again, is that like, grocery or, anything like that could fall under that or sales or whatever. So, how long have you done it?
For me, I wasn't in retail that much.
Okay.
My end is customer service.
Mm,
20 years.
okay.
Pretty much from 15 until I would say up to about 2 years ago. I was in customer service. It was. I know you said earlier or before we started, fast food could be
Yeah.
considered sales. I was in stuff like that, but like retail, like you and Mark did at Gander Mountain, I really didn't do much of that. But Blockbuster Video, I worked
Wow, there's a
there.
name drop. You're fucking old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 42.
Oh
42.
boy.
I was there. My first day was when Air Force One came out.
Jesus fuck.
That's how far back I go. Yeah.
So, not to interrupt you there, but with you
Yeah, no,
working
no.
at Blockbuster, I mean, that's just got to be how do I even say it? Like, just it's from me anyway, because I remember blockbusters. Like I remember I
Mhm.
would go, and not as much, but I do remember that I would go. But just going from, you worked at a blockbusters, but now we have
Mhm.
Netflix and Hulu
Yeah.
and Disney Plus. Like that's what, 20 years,
Yeah.
if.
I was I was at the late '90s. That's when I was working there, and it was still at its peak. Where Friday and Saturday nights, man, the
Oh my
place was
God,
packed.
packed. I guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it was after that. I guess the 2000s, like you said, once the internet and people really
Mm-hmm.
understood the what you could do with the internet, and then we started getting. You could, I think Netflix was, yeah, Netflix started with a mail service. You could order
Yeah.
them, and then that's when it started going streaming. And
Right.
I think AOL had a chance to actually buy Netflix at one point, and they're like, no, 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 or no, Blockbuster did.
Okay.
Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix, and they turned it down.
Dumbass.
Yeah, looking back, yeah, that was bad. But yeah, and then it's streaming. Now I have, like, right now it's, especially luckily with this whole COVID thing, I have the WWE network to watch. I can watch Hulu. I can watch Netflix. It's insane. So yeah, unfortunately, I think the last Blockbuster finally closed like last year. It was in Australia.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are still times, like I know there's Redbox and there's things like that out there,
Mhm.
but there are. I mean, granted, I also have Voodoo, which I love Voodoo because I'm a huge like physical media type of person, where
Okay.
I'll go out and I'm at the point now where, and call it nerdy, whatever you want, but I'm at the point where I refuse to buy a DVD anymore. It's
Hmm.
either
Yeah.
Blu-ray or 4K, because if I'm gonna watch something, I want to enjoy it the way it's supposed to be
Right.
enjoyed. So.
I'm starting. People are actually wondering. I watch a lot of YouTube, and some of the
Mm,
movie people that I watch are starting to wonder, with because of what's going on now. A lot of these movies are
mm-hmm.
starting to go directly to Netflix or direct Amazon, or
Yep.
you can buy it direct. And they wonder if this might be just the beginning, not tomorrow or anything, but
Right.
movie theaters may start dying off because of that.
Well, AMC, I don't know the entire story, but I read a little bit where they were, just for like 2 or 3 weeks in, AMC was filing bankruptcy.
Oh wow! I
Yeah.
heard AMC said they weren't going to show any more Paramount movies or something like that. I didn't really read the
Yeah, I
article.
also I had saw that. I haven't read into it, but it was either AMC or one of those companies that they were on the verge of filing bankruptcy because 2 or 3 weeks in that they had no business. Now, that's crazy because no matter where we get with technology, I still feel like you can't, like, the movie theater experience for me
Hmm.
is one of it. Like, granted, in my house, I've got a 4K projector, so I can make my screen damn near as big as I want.
Right. Nice.
And,
Nice.
I'll turn the lights off, draw the curtain or whatever, and wait till my kids go to bed. And if we want to put a new movie on, then yeah, then fucking right, we'll go ahead and do that.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I just feel like part of it might be lost. Like there's like the
Yeah.
TVs and stuff now is still fantastic, but I mean, I'm still, to the day I don't know, probably till the day I die, I'm gonna remember the experience of me sitting in the theaters watching Avengers Endgame, seeing Cap,
Hmm.
pick up Thor's hammer, and everyone in the
Yeah.
theater losing their fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like that's
And that's the part I was thinking about too. Those type of movies, absolutely, I'd rather see them in the theater first.
right.
But then there are people out there on the other aspect they mentioned too was maybe a woman with 5 kids
Yeah.
lugging them to go see Dora the Explorer at the theater.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna rather just have them at home just for $20
Yeah.
and sit there and watch it on TV. They're not gonna, oh well, I really wanted the experience. You have a 5-year-old. Yes.
No.
Where's the surround sound for Dora? No, you're not
Right.
going to hear any of that. Compared to, yes, if there's another Star Wars movie, yes,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
going to the theater. I want to see it. Or they have the new Marvels all lined up, ready to go for the next round.
Right.
Absolutely, I'm going to want to see them in the theater.
And like I said, it's a give and take because I
Hmm.
did exactly that with Sonic. Sonic came out on Vudu, and there was like, I didn't get to see it in theaters, and it was like almost immediately, not immediately, but as soon as it was on Vudu, I was like, well, we didn't get to see it in theaters, and it's not on DVD or Blu-ray yet, so let's screw it. Let's pay the $20. We own it,
Hmm.
and now we can watch it anywhere, and we didn't have to pay to go. We didn't have to pay a babysitter. We didn't have to waste gas to go drop our kids off at the sitter, then go to the movie theater, then back to
Yeah,
get the kids, then home. So certain situations I get it, but like date
absolutely.
night and big events, like definitely. Like I remember when It all depends. It's all like everyone has different opinions. But when Episode 7 came out for Star Wars, I made sure I was off that whole weekend because Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I went to see it.
Oh
Like,
wow.
and I was that excited about it.
Yeah.
Now, granted, 8 and 9 I didn't like, but 7 I fucking was head over heels for. I
Hmm.
love that movie, and I went and saw it every day over the weekend because it meant that much to me. But then I was still able to have that experience. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep, I know what you mean. Definitely for those higher end movies, I would. Yeah, theaters, yes, but no. Like you said, Sonic. Yeah, that's something I'd rather just see at home. I'm not that worried about seeing something like that in the theater.
Which, don't get me wrong, it was fantastic. I liked it a lot.
Oh wow, I heard the movie was bad, so that's cool. Maybe I'll give it
No,
a shot. I do.
no.
I think a lot of people just complaining about the special effects. The CGI and all that looked terrible at one point, but maybe they went back and fixed
Well,
that.
they did. When the movie was first
Okay.
announced, Sonic looked
Oh,
atrocious. He
oh, it
looked
was
like
horrible.
nightmare fuel, and then they
Yeah.
redid it, and he looked amazing.
Okay.
And even Jim Carrey, he did great as Dr. Robotnik. I mean, like the
Oh,
whole
okay.
movie, the movie as a whole, it was very enjoyable. So, as one movie goer to another, if you get a chance, definitely. If you get a chance, watch it. Because I mean, even yeah, you could say it was just because it was the pretty colors and whatnot. But my almost 3-year-old was sit and watch it. It was he enjoyed it.
Okay.
So
I was just gonna ask if it was good enough. I assumed it was good enough for kids because we have a 4 and a 9-year-old here,
yeah.
and I think they need something to do. They're bouncing off the walls,
Oh
so
yeah,
that
I
must
had
be
like 15 minutes in, my 3-year-old was sitting down on the floor
nice.
with his little stuffed Pokemon watching it.
Oh, nice. Very nice. But yeah, going back to Blockbuster, though, that was probably my favorite place to work. The pay was terrible,
Hmm.
but we got free rentals, 5 free rentals a week,
Wow.
uh, and the new movies would come out on Friday.
Okay.
We got to see them. They didn't count towards our five, and we got to rent those out before everybody else did. So that was huge. Pay was terrible,
Right.
but the perks were awesome.
See.
And
So
that's how
okay.
actually real quick. That's how I learned who Jay and Silent Bob were because
Right.
of my experience at Blockbuster.
So did they like let you see the movies early because they wanted you to talk them up to the customers?
Exactly.
Okay, that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah. For the sales. Yep. And other movies too. Because and after a while, when you've worked there, you've seen all the popular stuff that you
Right.
may not have had a chance to, and then yet, like you, I would go through and like, oh, this looks horrible. I need to see this.
Right.
So I would go through it. Like there was Dark Side of the Moon. It was a horror movie, and it was so bad. But to this day, I still remember that movie.
No, and that's awesome that they were able to
Mhm.
that you were able to do that. Granted, like you said, the pay was horrible,
Yeah.
but sometimes having a perk makes it worth it. And especially, you said, was that your first job or was that just your most memorable?
That was probably one of my most memorable ones. My very first job was in food. Like I worked at the library, but that was through the high school. Got me that job.
Okay.
Hardee's. Hardee's was my first job.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So like,
that was
there's
'94.
okay. So there's like fast food, and then there's
Hmm.
Hardee's.
Yeah,
Like, cause not to be rude or anything. It's just like
yeah,
Hardee's is just it's weird. It was like, I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of the right place where Hardee's is like they get like, is that the place that has like the meat sandwiches where it's like a ham and Swiss or whatever?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. They had those. Back when I was there, it was widely popular. We had the roast beefs that were the actual roast beef. It didn't come in shipped. We had the fried chicken. This was back when they were still in cahoots with Roy Rogers. We would be mad busy with the chicken, and we had all the sides, and it was delicious. And then once Roy Rogers and then split, Hardee's just was never the same.
Yeah, that's they've always been a company where it was like, man, how can we outdo our competition? And I feel like I saw a meme somewhere where it was like, oh, well, it's Hardee's. Let's take a burger, some ham, a piece of chicken, and like a
Hmm.
mozzarella stick, and put it
Yeah,
on a sandwich, and try to get that to get
right.
customers.
Yeah, yeah. It was it nowadays. I don't know anybody that even really eats at Hardee's anymore, and the food's like really heavy,
Yeah.
so it's not something you really want to eat every day anyway.
Well, I remember I vaguely, and I could be wrong, but I remember every once in a while, like my parents would get it, like when they would have it was like a 2 for 4 on like their ham and Swiss sandwiches or something.
Oh yeah,
And
they had those constantly. Yeah.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, they were good, but you could tell it was just even for a ham and Swiss, it was super greasy.
And those came in shipped.
Oh,
already with the cheese, with the ham in these little plastic dishes, and we threw them in the microwave for like 30 seconds, and then out the door it went.
oh, that's gross.
Yeah, that wasn't anything that went on the grill, or that's why I mentioned the roast beef used to be like that,
Mm-hmm.
just packed up, ready to go, put it in the microwave, and then when I was there, and they started like the two for $2 roast beefs, then we actually got real roast beef in, and those were really good. But I think I went there a while back, and I think their roast beef tastes like it used to.
Gotcha.
It's probably too. They probably were cutting costs and everything because they're struggling.
Right. Well, I mean, I like I said, when I lived in PA, I was in New York my whole life, and I
Mhm.
only ever remember seeing one.
They used to have a lot more. They used to have one in Dover,
Okay.
where the right across from where McDonald's is at in Dover. They had a Hardee's there, a Hardee's in West York, the Hardee's on Route 30. They had a bunch all over the place. And Red Line had one, and then yeah, they slowly just started cutting back on. Kind of like Friendly's did. Friendly's used to be a lot of
Yeah.
places, and they only have the one on Route 30 now in my
Mm-hmm.
area, and that's it. I don't even
Okay.
know if there's that might be the whole store in the whole country. I don't know.
I mean, there's no Hardee's down here. There's no Friendlies.
You don't have
Yeah,
Roy, or what's the other one? Carl Jr. You don't have a Carl's Jr.
not down here. Not in my
No.
area. No, there's
Okay.
too much competition. We've got
Yeah.
so not only do we have your McDonald's and your Burger King,
Hmm.
but we also have Jack in the Box. We have Sonics are huge down here, like absolutely huge. So we have Jack in the Box, Sonic. We've got In and Out. We've got Steak and Shake. And then there's another Whataburger. Whataburger is huge in
Okay.
Texas, and there's just
Yes,
so much.
I hear that. I hear that argument a lot. I wish I could try it between them and I think In and Out Burger. Which one's the better burger?
I have not tried In and Out Burger, but maybe it's just because I'm not from Texas. But true
Hmm.
native Texans swear by Whataburger. But let me tell you, it is so damn greasy.
Oh, I bet.
It I don't know. It's just not for me. I prefer Jack in the Box over that, and I know that's probably like blasphemous to people who are native Texans.
I
But
think I've had when I was out in Vegas. I think I had a Jack in a Box, and that was pretty good.
yeah, and the thing that I always joke around with Jack in the Box, it's like, well, they can't decide what kind of fast food restaurant they want to be, so they just throw everything on the menu. I mean,
I'm just,
they've got tacos, they've got burgers, they've got
oh
popcorn
wow.
chicken, they've got fried chicken, they've got egg rolls, everything. It's
Hmm.
weird.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've never been there. Well, I was there. I think it was just burgers though. It was just a really small one
I gotcha.
we were at.
So you've really mentioned, we've got through a good bit of these already, which is fantastic. But you mentioned
Mhm.
your best memory was working at Blockbuster, mainly because of the perks, and that you were able to see these movies, and like you said, being able to see these terrible movies that maybe you would have, but not something
Mhm.
you'd want to pay for to rent, but you
Yeah.
definitely were able to. Oh, this looks so bad. I'm going to use it as one of my freebies.
Right.
So, with that being said, let's kind of turn it around here to the opposite end of that. Then, what would you say is your absolute worst memory? Is then?
Hmm. I was thinking about these questions before, for the past week since we just talked.
Hmm.
Um, my worst memories, and I guess it just depends on where I was working because between 16 and 30,
Hmm.
I was kind of a job jumper.
Okay.
Not proud of that, but yeah, I've worked every fast food restaurant. I've worked in collections. I drove cab. We could be sitting here all day. I could tell you cab stories from people where I've been and people I've dealt with. Um, but I think maybe my worst one. I'm trying to think when this was. I think it was early 2000s. I was working for a third party collection agency,
Okay.
and the company was growing, and we ended up. The cops came in and shut the place down. They had warrants and everything. The owner, we were collecting the money, but the owner was not getting it to the debtors
Oh
or to the client,
shit.
to the clients. Yeah, and we were told and he was dealing with a lot of little
Right.
mom and pop companies, so they really didn't have the power or the finances to go after him.
Okay.
But he also messed with Penn Waste.
Oh
Penn
wow.
Waste is one of the biggest garbage disposal companies in Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah. One hundred
And
percent.
yeah, you're not messing with them like that. And we got a lot of clients from them or a lot of customers. I mean, yeah, they were only, maybe the customer only owes them 20, $30, but we had like five, six, 700 of these customers.
Right, and that shit adds
So
up.
yeah, and he just got greedy and was just not paying them. He would duck and dodge everybody.
Jeez, so that didn't like
Yeah.
have any blowback on you guys, did it? Because I mean, you
No.
guys were just doing your job.
Right. We did not. We did go in for questioning
Okay.
with the cops, and they made sure that they wanted to make sure that we were, other than our hourly pay,
Right.
we were not getting any other kickbacks, and we were not. That's all we
Right.
were getting was a paycheck. Then a few months later, I had to show up at court, which
Okay.
that was scary because I was a witness to what was going on, and I was in the same room with some of these people that were being screwed by him,
Right.
including a garbage company in Jersey.
Jesus.
These dudes talk about Sopranos. These dudes, big jumpsuits on, big guys. They had their jewelry.
Oh
They were
Jesus.
Italian. I'm like, I'm gonna die here.
Right.
I'm done.
They're
But
gonna fucking
no,
double tap you in the car and take the cannoli.
yeah. But luckily, though, when we all got into court, his attorney requested that everybody leave the room and we just come in one at a time. So nobody actually knew why I was there.
Right.
We kept my mouth shut when I was around everybody else. And then we came in, they asked me some questions, and then that was it. I haven't heard from him since.
Wow.
And the weird thing, the kicker is, you know how you can go on Google and look up your name and
Yeah.
you can find out all kinds of stuff? You cannot look him up.
Ooh. So you think them guys who were there in jumpsuits, you think they had a little bit of a connection there? Hello? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. My computer went to sleep on me.
No, 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 that's totally fine. So, just for my question there is, do you think they were somebody who got him, or do you think it was just something that was, just one of those instances where now you just can't find information?
I don't think it had anything to do with them, but I think that, I couldn't find any history period on him.
Hmm.
Me and my friend that was close to him, we think that it was just a fake name. That wasn't his
Gotcha.
name at all. I know he
Wow.
changed company names for a minute, and God only knows what else he was doing. If he's screwing over these debtors, God only knows what else he was doing that we didn't know nothing about.
Well, and that's the thing too. A lot of these people that are career criminals like that, they'll make like a racket out of it, and
Hmm.
they'll have five, six, seven identities, and each one's doing like some outrageous, outlandish criminal activity, and meanwhile they're just sitting there collecting all the money from these businesses, and oh, this one's under investigation, okay, but meanwhile other five he's still taking kickbacks from, and
Right.
he's paying his bail every single fucking time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that was being third party collections. I always tell people that's like the ghetto of collections. We
Most
pretty much do
definitely.
whatever we wanted. Where I worked at for about 3 years, I worked at Dent Supply.
Okay.
I just left there in October. They unfortunately sent our jobs overseas,
Wow, that
but
sucks.
we were working in house collections. So yeah, these were still our customers, and
Yeah.
we're still, we're treating them with the utmost respect. But with third party collections, yeah, it's like the ghetto. It's so terrible. I will never do third party collections again.
Yeah, I for a while there, when I had one of my careers I was in for about 2 years, I worked for a rent-a-center, and I was
Me too.
yeah, I was the collections manager. So or
Okay.
credit manager. I'm sorry. So I
Hmm.
was in charge of making sure everybody paid their bills, that everything was up to date and
Yeah.
whatnot. And I definitely understand what you were saying, because I had to make sure that every day people were making calls to get people to make their payments, whenever their due date was. Pardon me.
Hmm.
But also on, when they were late, it was my response. I had to fill out the files for, we called them the red folders, for when people went 7 days past, when we had to like, start calling their references and all this other stuff. And that's so fucking annoying and weird when you
It
have
is.
to call somebody's like
Hmm.
aunt because they're not paying their bill on their fucking TV. And
And
then
then
people,
there was ones you knew we're not going to be paying,
oh
but
my god. And then
yeah.
the people thought like it was all just a game just because one or two
Hmm.
people maybe got away with it. The 2 years I worked there, I was probably in and out of the courtroom 25 times because
Wow.
people were going, not paying their bill and trying to just leave out with their shit.
Hmm.
And they would try to say, "Oh, well, there's no case here," blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, I'd come in with their whole contract and everything that they signed, and then there was one distinct one memory I had where this lady had like $6,000 worth of our merchandise. She had like a fridge, she had a TV, she had a couch, and I'm pretty sure she had a kitchen table from us too. And it was maybe one or two other things, but she had like 6 grand worth of merchandise from us. And her lawyer was trying to say that there's no case, that there's no proof that my customer signed anything. And so then the judge pulls up all my files and my contract that I brought in with her signing it,
Hmm.
saying that I agree to pay X amount, blah 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 blah. And as soon as
Yeah.
her lawyer saw that, he was like, "Okay, we'll take whatever the fine is."
I bet. Yeah, because that's why you sit there at the beginning. I've been to Rent Center. I've not only worked there, but I was also a client.
Hmm.
But you have like a book worth of papers to sign, and that's why you're signing those papers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is your agreement. You play. This is how much it costs. This is how much you're paying us. This is when you're paying us. Yeah, absolutely. So,
I,
yeah, that's dumb.
No, it's mind-boggling because I'm still a Rent-A-Center customer, even though I no longer work there. Like
Hmm.
when I moved down here from PA, I brought nothing with me except like the clothes on our backs and like some of our kids' like key things that they needed.
No.
But like we had to restart over, so like my
Yeah.
washer and dryer, I didn't just have, granted, it's only maybe like I could have bought the set I had for like $1,000, but the money I had was I had a finite amount of money until I could
Yep.
get, situated with a job. And I
Right.
understand the washer and dryer that I'm paying off with them now is going to end up costing me twice as much than it originally cost. But it was just the convenience that I needed a fucking washer and dryer.
We should try to definitely, depending on what your finances are, try to pay more so it
Oh
goes
yeah.
towards the premium. Obviously,
Mm.
that's what I try to do with a lot of my credit cards, and I have stuff through Fingerhut. Even though they only have to pay them 30, I'm paying them 100 every month trying to get that done. And they're always email me, "Hey, you still have a credit with us?" Yeah, yeah. Shut up. I don't need anything else.
No, no, no. I gotcha. I've never even heard of Fingerhut. Is that just like,
Oh, really?
yeah?
Oh, yeah. It's go online, just fingerhut.com. They've been around forever.
Hmm.
But yeah, we started a low, like $200-300 credit limit, and they'll send whatever you want. They'll send it to you, and then you just pay it off over time. Then, as you're making good payments, you'll slowly start getting more credit. Like I went from, like I said, $200-300 to start. I'm up to about 1,700 now that I could get, or two
Wow.
grand, something like. I don't spend that much,
Right.
but I have up to that to spend, and it'll show you on there what this is how much you're paying each month for what depending. Some are cheap, some's only like $10 a month or something,
Hmm.
and then but they have TVs, they have appliances, they have clothes, they have just pretty much anything any other department store has.
Interesting. That's almost like QVC as well. QVC does that,
Yeah,
where you can
yeah,
either buy it outright or you can do their payment plans, and a lot of companies do
absolutely,
that. And unfortunately, that some people do that because they don't have the money to pay the full outright.
right.
And I'm not going to disparage against anybody that does
Hmm.
that, but hey, do what you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to do that when a few years ago my credit was terrible, and
Hmm.
I was getting like I have these credit cards that were the worst credit cards in the world, but it was helping with my credit. And I busted my butt to get my credit up, and now recently I just bought a brand new 2020 Nissan Altima,
There you go.
and I didn't even need a co-signer. My fiance came with me. I knew they were going to need a co-signer. I've never gotten a car without a co-signer,
Yep.
and they came back. Oh, we got you a loan. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You did?
Dude, I love.
But yeah, just working your butt off to get that credit back up.
Hell yeah, I love Nissan. I actually, the Altima is their SUV. I had one of those and I loved it. Like,
Mhm.
absolutely, my favorite car is an SUV.
Yeah, well, we have a Jeep and Traverse,
Okay.
which is an SUV. So it's like I just need a car, but I never forgot it. Back it was about I guess about 6 years ago. I got a used car from them.
Hmm.
No other dealership wanted to deal with me and my credit because my credit was terrible. Nissan was the only people that were willing to work with me,
Dude,
and
that's
I went
awesome.
directly. Yeah, and that's why I went directly back to them.
Hell
They
yeah.
were my top priority. And I saw that Altima on YouTube. I watched a video on that new one. I was like, I want that.
Oh hell yeah. And it was an easy
Yeah,
pick for me because Altimas have some of the best safety rating out there, and with me and two
yeah,
small kids, my kids' safety is everything.
no, absolutely.
So, what are you doing currently then? Are you still in like your retail market, or are you doing something else?
No, while I was driving cab, I knew I didn't really want to go back to the food industry.
Okay.
So I got my bachelor's degree in finance.
Okay.
Took me a while to get a job because no, well, you got the education but no experience.
Right.
But now as of January, I started working at a company called BAE.
Oh, my uncle retired from there.
Oh, nice. Yep, that's where I work at. I'm a financial analyst.
Oh, awesome! Actually, the first person I had on my show here, Damon Heim,
Hmm.
he's a friend of mine. He used to work with at Gander. He works out there now, or I
Oh,
mean,
nice.
he's been working there.
Hmm.
But yeah, BAE is a great company. My uncle, he worked there since it was when it was United Defense, and then
Okay.
it I guess it transferred over to BIE or BAE. Sorry, but yeah, he retired from there and he loved it. I mean, his whole I don't want to say his whole life, but I want to say he worked there long enough where he could freaking retire.
Nice. But
Uh,
yeah, I'm really happy out there. It's yeah, no, I do miss the one thing I will say. I miss the craziness of customer service.
yeah.
I do miss that aspect, but everything else, no, I'm good.
Which that's actually perfect because that's my next question for you.
Yeah,
So is there would even if it was like no other option to make sure that like if it was like a last resort to feed your family, would you ever consider going back to a retail job or something like a environment like that again, whether it was in fast food again or food service or customer service? Would that be ever or even sales like go be a car salesman? Was that be ever something you'd consider going to do again?
I've had to actually. That is the one nice thing. I have a associate's degree in culinary arts,
Okay.
um, and I thought for a while there I was like, I'm taking a break
Hmm.
from culinary, and I went to drive cab, thinking I would only drive cab for a few months, and a couple years later, I was still doing it. I actually enjoyed it. Like I said, there's crazy stuff that happened, but I was making great money at
Hmm.
first. I was doing 6 days a week. I was bringing home $200 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, I was killing it. Bills were paid. We were going to Vegas, Atlantic City, New York. We were doing all kinds of stuff. But as time went on, Harrisburg Cab came down. Another cab company added more cars. Then we got Uber and Lyft. And by year 4 or 5, I was in it. I went from making 200 a day to $75 a day. If you divide that by my 12-hour shift, I'm making less than a McDonald's employee.
Right.
And I had some money saved up, and I was hoping to get done school first, but cab broke down, and I was going to be out of work for a few days. And then a buddy of mine that works night shift, he actually posted pics of him. He got shot at.
Mm, Jesus.
And yeah, the cab, he showed bullet holes in the cab. And I was like, you know what, I'm done. That's it.
Yeah.
And I kept trying. I left the cab business, had a little bit of money saved up, but I'm sure when you're not working, the money you have saved up, you burn through
Oh
it
my
real
God.
quick.
In a heartbeat.
And I kept looking, it's like, I don't want to go back to fast food. I don't want to go back to restaurants. But I knew, and I've done it before, where I could walk into a fast food restaurant, I could get a job on the spot. They
Hmm.
will take me. I've done it before.
Right.
And finally, I gave in because nobody was hiring me. And I saw KFC was hiring, and I went over there and had my interview with the assistant manager. GM came over and spoke to me, and I got the job on the spot. So for about 6 months, I worked at KFC. It was a nice job, and it was great because I was working 40 hours a week, day shift.
Mm.
So then at night shift, when kids had baseball, kids had prom,
Yeah.
they weren't showing up for whatever reason. I was the type you always hear people say, "Oh, I'll take the extra hours. I'll take the extra hours." But
Yeah.
then when it comes, they don't want them.
Right.
I was taking them. I would take them. I was working so many open to closes, and I remember my GM told me that the district manager got on her because they saw my hours for 1 week. I got like 60 some hours in 1 week
Hmm.
because just getting these extra hours. So yeah, I have had to. I'm willing to bite the bullet for my family, like you said,
Yeah. 100.
and go back, or even driving cab if I have to. Yeah, I know I could call them tomorrow and I can get my job back, and I'll do it.
Yeah, and it's definitely awesome to hear like that side of it as well. If you get somebody who's willing to do it, because I know
Mhm.
my first job, I worked at Turkey Hill, and I don't know if you ever been to a Turkey Hill or if
Mhm.
you've.
Oh yeah, yeah, we have Turkey Hill. Yeah.
Yeah. So Turkey Hill pays their employees shit pay, and they can't
Hmm.
hang on to anybody. But I worked for them for 5 years, and the 5 years that I worked for them, I was averaging about 70 hours a week because I was the only first time. First off, I was a full time employee at my store, and then I was kind of like a trainer, so I would go to the stores that need help training people,
Hmm.
and then anytime somebody called out in the other stores. everybody was fucking calling me all the time. So it was like, go do this, go do that. Can you help me with
I
this?
had that.
How do you do this? Which at the
Hmm.
time, like I said, at the time I was, I don't know. So I started there when I was 17. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, right up until after I was 21. And I wasn't doing much. I was putting myself through college at night. So I would work either 12 to 12 or 2 to 12. And when I got off at midnight, I would go home, do 2 to 3 hours worth of schoolwork, and then go to bed, wake up at, 10, 11 o'clock the next day, do it all over again. So it's not that I
Hmm.
had a lot to do. It was just that, if I did have something, it was always, 60-40 that I would get a phone call that, I already had something planned. Oh, 60-40, let's see what this phone call is, and they need help at work.
Yep, I've had that for working in fast food. Couple things, so something you mentioned earlier too, but yeah, when I worked at Wendy's,
Hmm.
I was a shift manager in training, but they knew because I was one of the few people that actually had a car,
Okay.
and because I was in training, I wasn't actually on shifts running shifts yet. They could call me, hey, this store, the manager is out on surgery. Can you come work here for a week?
Hmm.
Hey, our manager's sick. Can you come work at this one? So yeah, I would. My home store was the Wendy's on Route 30,
Yeah.
but yeah, I had to go to Shrewsbury. I had to go to Queen Street. I had to go Carlisle Road. Yeah, I was all over the place. So it kind of made it cool to see to experience how other the stores are ran, good and bad. But yeah, on the other aspect, it was kind of a pain because yeah, a lot of my times, like if I had a day off there, yeah, I'm probably gonna get a call. They're gonna need me.
Oh yeah. But I
And
can
something else.
definitely.
Oh, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no. What were you saying?
Well, something else on different subject. You said because these companies couldn't keep anybody. That was part of the reason when I said earlier I'm not proud of it, but I was a job jumper.
Right.
These fast food restaurants, I've worked in a gas station, the fast food restaurants, I've worked at Rent Center. They're not paying anybody.
Nope.
So why am I going to sit here and deal with your BS when I can go across the street and get the same amount of money from this company over here? That's why they can't keep nobody. Now that I'm working places like accounts receivable at Dent Supply, now that I'm working finance at BAE, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm good. But yeah, making $7, $8, $9 an hour, no. Bye. I'll see you later.
Oh, most definitely. When I started at seven or not 7-Eleven, I'm sorry. When I started at Turkey Hill, I started at the minimum wage at that time, which was 7.25. 5 years
Mm.
later, when I quit, I was making 8.75. So do the math
Yeah,
on that one.
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunoco. I worked at Sunoco. They promised me a raise. I never got that raise. I
Yeah.
was there for 4 months after they promised me a 50-cent raise, and yeah, I never got it. It's like whatever. And there's somebody actually owes me Cheddar's. The restaurant owes me like a 2 days worth of work, and yeah, I never saw that paycheck.
Jeez. And,
Yeah,
and that's sad too, because some of those places you do, like for me personally, like when you hear that, that sucks because I love Cheddar's. Like I love the fact that I can go at Cheddar's and pay like 12, $13 and get ribs and steak. What?
hmm
What? Get out of here. But
I was there when they first opened up. I went in for the training for everybody. They weren't even open yet, and I found because I started work, or I actually started seeing the inside
mm,
of how Cheddar's works. I started realizing that this place, to me at least, if you love Cheddar's, that's great. But for my experience, I found that they were more about the look.
gotcha.
Restaurant looks great, the fans look great, and then I start the plates and all this, and then I find out,
Hmm.
oh, they have like 50 different plates. The food in the back, most of that's reheated. That's why the food comes out so quick. And I told him, I said, you know what? I'm not interested. I'm going to clock out and just quietly go home. Thank
Yeah.
you. Sorry for wasting your time. The owner was there and started bitching me out. And he's like, "You've never worked at a restaurant in New York, have you?" And I said, "You've never worked at McDonald's, have you? They do the same goddamn thing you're doing here."
Right. And he's full of
Uh,
shit if he's trying to say some fancy restaurant in New York just reheats food. That's
exactly. I
bullshit.
wanted to say something so bad. I'm like, "You telling me that Gordon Ramsay's restaurant they're serving reheated food? Are you serious right now?" But I just walked away, just bit my tongue, and just leave.
No, and
And I
sometimes
just
that's
never
all you
been
can
back.
do. No.
Yeah, But it's still there, so obviously, and I knew I actually driving cab. I pick people up to go there for work, and they tell me about some of the horror stories there. So I'm kind of glad I never decided to work there.
No, that's a good thing too. So, you definitely pinpointed and answered a lot of my questions I had for you. So,
Mhm.
with my last question for the podcast, then for you is, since you are currently no longer in retail, but you've been in that world and you've now exited and you've moved on and you're doing what you're doing the accounting at BAE. So the people that are still working retail, especially right now, who are now being deemed essential, that they're the ones who are out making sure that we can go out and buy food, that we can go out and get toilet paper, we can go out and some you can get the things that you need to survive.
Mhm.
And being the person that you are, that where you've done that and you've had that experience, what is something like, because it's hard, like, and I will not like sugarcoat it. Retail sucks sometimes, and it really
Oh,
does. You'll
absolutely.
get times where people are screaming at you over things that aren't your fault.
Yeah.
You get people that are, they're gonna snap out at you over a fucking coupon not scanning,
Yeah.
or something being
I've worked.
expired that's completely out of your control. What were you
I've
gonna?
worked at Sbarro's on Black Friday in the mall, so yes, I know all about how horrible it can be.
Yeah. So with all the people that are out there still working and that are dealing
Mhm.
with, the possibility of catching corona because they're out providing for their family, and their job of stocking fruit or stocking cans is now put them in a world where they're in like a virus warfare. Where somebody coughing near you, is it just coughing because they have allergies or they have dry throat,
Mhm.
or did they
Right.
have the corona and now you have the ability of catching it? So if there's anything you can say to the people that are still out there working in the retail, who are working with the public right now, is there something you could say to help them get through their day or their shift, or even until like the next hour or their break? What would you say to help these people make it through?
I wouldn't say it's so much to them as
Okay.
I would to the customers
Okay, so
that are
you want to
coming in.
more directed towards the customers, not the employee.
Absolutely, and I've
Okay.
always said that. Like, first of all, yeah, of course, I want to applaud the employees that are still working, but to the customers out there, be patient,
Mhm.
relax. Yes, it sucks right now. They're doing the best they can. It's not anybody's fault. Just relax. Last night, the pizza shop, I was there, and they were overloaded, and my food didn't come out for another 20 minutes. It's okay. Where are you going? You're going back home to sit. You ain't got nothing else to do.
Right.
So I would definitely say more to the customers. Realize the situation these people are in. Thank them. Take the time to thank them. It doesn't hurt. Even if you're mad at them or you're groveling because you had to wait 20 minutes in line at the grocery store, just thank them for being there to do it. Because if they weren't doing it, where would you get your food at?
No, 100%. And that's interesting that you want to direct your statement towards the customers, and
Mm-hmm.
that's honestly one of the first times I've gotten that on the show. And it is true, there are some times, especially with from my perspective, where I'm still working with retail, and I direct so much at thanking my employees and talking to my employees, but there's times where I want to just look at the customer like, back the fuck up, take a deep
Uh
breath,
huh.
and relax. I,
Chances are, being in customer service as long as I have, when a customer is cussing you out,
yeah.
chances are something else happened today to them,
Yes.
and you are the target. It doesn't have anything to do with that coupon not scanning, or the 50 cents extra there, or the food coming out 5 minutes longer than it was supposed to. Something else happened that day that pissed them off, and unfortunately, we are the targets. We are an easy target to take to vent it all to. I've seen it many, many, many times. Sometimes I just laugh to laugh and
Oh yeah.
just all you can do. Just and if you're out, you get upset as the customer service or whatever. Just if you're allowed to, go step outside for a minute. Just take a deep breath. Go if you smoke, smoke. That's
Hmm.
usually what I told him as a manager. Just go chill for a second. You're
Yep.
fine. I'll take over. Whatever you're doing.
No, 100%. That's something I tell all my people. If they're a smoker and something happened, go take a cigarette. If you want to go sit in my desk and have just like a 10, 15-minute cool down, get like some soda from the fountain or whatever, go chillax for a little bit while
Hmm.
I will take over. And I 100% agree with you. And I feel that again, yes, there are the times when it's not like something happened to that customer that made them do that, and I agree with that. But at the same time, there are some people where they just you're retail and or you work at a store and you're beneath them, so you need to cater to me, and
Hmm.
you're worse than dirt, so you do everything I tell you to do.
I
And
think a lot of times, being on both sides, I think a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but I know there are times where the customer is just trying to get something,
oh yeah,
a free dessert or maybe a free item or
mm,
something like that. Yeah, they're just trying to get over on you so they don't care about you. It's nothing against you. They're just trying to get something for free.
yeah, and that's totally shady and terrible. But
Hmm.
honestly, that's a conversation for a different podcast. But
Absolutely.
with saying that, that'll wrap us up today. Corey, I definitely had a great time having you on. I definitely
This was great.
was awesome like getting to know each other a little bit in the beginning there,
Yeah,
talking movies. Like I said, this was a fantastic episode, and this again, first time actually for all you guys listening, first time I've had an actual voice conversation with this gentleman, and I had a great time. And Corey, I really hope you want to come back on at some time.
absolutely.
I
I'd
definitely
love to. And let me know on Facebook or whatever what you thought of Critters.
Yeah, definitely. What I while you were talking of, it's funny while you were talking about your experiences and you started talking about the cab, I was like, man, I should get him back on in just an episode about cab work. That would be fun. I
Oh,
really,
absolutely. Oh, I could, like I said, I could be here all day talking about taxis and the crazy people I've had in my cab. Oh yeah, if
yeah,
I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it if you want to do it.
hell
Let
yeah,
me
I'm
know.
game. Yeah. So, anyway, everybody listening, that today has been awesome. This is Retail Shenanigans episode 14. Last time I checked, excuse me. Ooh, I'm very burpy today.
It's all
Um,
right. I can barely hear it.
Okay, good. We are episode 14. We're at 40 subscribers. We're only 10 away from the magic number 50. I'm still running that special and the contest. Whoever the 50th subscriber is, I will make sure I reach out to you and you get a $10 Amazon gift card from me. So please spread the word. If you guys like this, please make sure you're subscribed up, like and subscribe, and please have a fantastic day.